Who doesn't love Wes Anderson? One of the most instantly recognizable filmmakers of our era, he's beautifully transcended the line between casual moviegoer and hardened cinephile time and time again. His most recent film, The Phoenician Scheme, has been out for a few weeks now, and I've spent these past few weeks doing what I always do when one of my favorite filmmakers releases a new project. Now that I've finally seen Phoenician Scheme, it's time to rank his filmography from bottom to top. I word it like that to emphasize that Wes has never made a bad film. Even the number 12 film on this list, I gather quite a bit of enjoyment from. All of that to also say that this may be the least confident I've ever been in one of these list videos. My opinions on a lot of these films changed dramatically on this watch, and it's entirely possible that they will dramatically change again. So please don't take this too seriously, especially since this one contains perhaps my hottest takes yet, so brace yourselves. Bottle Rocket is a pretty hard film to talk about just because there really isn't much here that warrants a ton of discussion. It's his debut feature, and as to be expected, you would definitely be able to tell it was, even if you didn't know it was. It's pretty clear right from the opening scene that Wes has at least a solid semblance of a grasp on what he wants his style to become, and Owen Wilson performs as if he was put on this earth solely to be in this movie, so it's very difficult to dislike much of anything about it, but the edit is significantly drawn out. The most common complaint thrown at this one is that it's messy, but I don't really think that that's true. Yes, the story jumps around a lot, and oftentimes with no real warning, but I find that aspect of it actually fairly endearing and true to its characters. I think the reason people feel this way is because Wes didn't really know how to edit his style visually yet. Script-wise, it's already mostly there, but the timing of every shot feels just a little too far over the line to where it loses that sharp momentum we've all grown to expect and love from him. And on top of that, it's all just so sluggishly minimalist most of the time, which is another stark contrast to a lot of his other works, but also it's a debut. We're not expecting Grand Budapest level yet. The Phoenician Scheme is the first and only time so far in Wes's filmography where at this stage you'll hear me agreeing with the style over substance complaint. I think that this has such an incredibly strong opening and an even stronger conclusion, but the hour and a half in between is so narratively repetitive and thematically thin that it can never catch up to those beginning and end highs. I appreciate the experimentation with the black and white heaven trial sequences, and Bill Murray as God is hysterical, but beyond the funny one-liners and quirky cinematography, there was shockingly little for me to grasp onto here. Oh boy, here we go. This placement is the one that hurts me the most because for a long time I would have said Isle of Dogs was easily in my top 3 of his filmography. I remember being so awe-inspiringly struck by the visuals and the heart of this film when I saw it in theaters, and in many ways I still am. I just think that for a while, because of that, I was kind of blinded to some of the milder cracks in the narratives that I noticed more heavily on this watch. I think the second half of this film is paced rather bizarrely, and every time we cut back to the mainland, I found myself starting to get bored. The human characters have next to no development to them at all, and even the dogs themselves, aside from the quirky bits they all have with each other, don't have a ton to hold on to, except for maybe Duke. I still think this is a technical marvel and a massive achievement in stop-motion animation that I have a ton of nostalgia for and fun with, but ultimately this rewatch made me question just how far all of that used to go in my overall enjoyment. In many ways, I can understand why a lot of people don't vibe with Life Aquatic. It's his longest film, despite somehow managing to still be under 2 hours. It's a bit overly dense, some key character moments feel like betrayals to the setup, the sea creature stop motion feels a bit too uncanny valley, and in a lot of ways, it's both his saddest and quirkiest movie. I get all of that. But this cast of characters is so truly unforgettable. I mean, Willem Dafoe, his character might be an all-timer for me. It has my favorite costume design of his entire filmography, and all of the zany, breakneck story beats culminate in what is highly likely my favorite conclusion to a Wes Anderson movie. Bill Murray is the best he's ever been in this film. Steve Zissou is easily a top 5 Wes Anderson character, and once he finally opens up, all of the uneven stepping stones required to reach that point feel far more smooth. I've only seen the film once, and I could very much see it skyrocketing closer to the top once I see it again, knowing what to expect, but as of now, this is where I stand. Rushmore became an instant comfort film classic for me the first time I saw it. It's quick, it's breezy, the characters are hilarious, and it has far more heart than it knows what to do with. I've seen a lot of people criticize it for having nothing to say, but I think it comments on our unattainable desire to always be in control better than those people give it credit for. As expected, the central feud at the center of this film is a total riot, and in my opinion, completely justified, because if Olivia Williams ever even looked in my general direction, I probably would have behaved a lot worse. Obviously, it's not anything revolutionary, but it's never ever trying to be, and it also gives us this line delivery from Jason Schwartzman, which I think is the greatest gift of all.
You hurt my feelings! This night was important to me!
How did I hurt your feelings?
Oh my God! I wrote a hit play!
God damn it. I'd like to preface this by saying that there is quite literally nothing about this film that I dislike. Everything I could possibly say about it has already been talked about and dissected. It's one of the defining achievements of the stop motion medium, and I quite literally love every single second of it. I just don't connect with it emotionally nearly as much as everyone else does. And I know for a fact the reason for that is that it just wasn't a childhood regular of mine. For whatever reason, stop motion freaked me out as a kid, and I only watched this film once, maybe twice, and then locked it away until I stopped being a stupid kid and realized way too late how much I missed out on. This is a technically perfect movie that has zero identifiable flaws in my opinion, and I just simply cannot be moved by it no matter how hard I try. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. This is where things really start to pick up for me. I think it's fair to say that objectively, Wes does his best character work with Royal Tenenbaums. Usually, Wes gives intense backstory and focus to one or two central characters, but here he gives that same treatment to nearly everyone. And with such a stacked cast and such a narrative ensemble, it feels nothing short of miraculous. There isn't a single performer here that isn't firing on all cylinders, and Ben Stiller's "I've had a rough year" moment at the end is probably the single best line delivery of his entire filmography. The Tenenbaums are a deeply shattered, unsalvageable group of people, but the lengths that they go to try anyway are consistently hilarious and deeply moving. The only reason this film isn't higher on the list is because I just relate to the themes here less than the films above it. But man, for how annoying some of the diehard fans of this film can be, it's more than earned its right to have fans like that. Similar to Life Aquatic, The Darjeeling Limited has followed the trajectory of being one of Wes's more quickly forgotten about works, but has since seen a bit of a resurgence, which I'm incredibly grateful for. Story-wise, there isn't much going on here at any given moment, which is a bit uncharacteristic for Wes's work, but what he fills in those gaps with is some of the most satisfying depictions of sibling relationships and reconciliation that I've ever seen. I will admit that there comes a point about halfway through where it became a little frightening to me just how much of myself I saw in all three of our main characters, but by the end of it, my jaw was sore from smiling so much that none of it mattered to me anymore. For how large-scale the geography of the film can feel at times with such a contained narrative, it never loses sight of what it holds the most dear, and for that, it is a genuine winner in my book. On the complete other end of the spectrum of Darjeeling, The French Dispatch is Wes at his most maximalist. He has the most to say here, he's playing with structure the most, he's experimenting visually more than he ever has, his cast has never been more stacked, and the score by Alexander Desplat feels just as all over the place as everything else. And on first watch, it can be incredibly overwhelming. I'm not inherently the biggest fan of anthology stories, and so I found myself pretty frustrated by this one when it first released. It wasn't until this most recent viewing that all of it clicked for me. Kind of. I still don't feel as though I've wrapped my head around everything, which is a good thing, but it also feels so much more intentional and meaningful to me now than it did before. Wes is painting with some pretty broad but well thought out strokes here, literally, and it'll be a long time before I come close to connecting it all, but I don't really think he wants me to either. And that score, man, I mean, just especially in the second, third, undeniable stuff. I find it kind of funny the way that people make fun of Wes's current filmmaking quirks, like perfect symmetry or oversaturated visuals, and how over-repetitive these things supposedly are throughout his works, when it really took until this film in his career to really perfect these areas. There's hints of it all before, obviously, but this is the first time where all of these things are firing on all cylinders together, and it's all pretty close to perfect. It's his funniest film for me by a lot, and it's just a perfect home run of teetering into art house sensibilities while still remaining perfectly accessible for your average moviegoer. It's pretty obvious why this film got so much awards attention as it did. It's always, funnily enough, been kind of a sleeper hit for me despite how famously awesome it is. For some reason, I've always seemed to forget how good everything is in Grand Budapest relatively quick after each watch, and I'm gonna work hard now to not let it happen again because it's one of the most visually stunning films of the modern era in every department, and that central mystery keeps the runtime flying by like it's nothing. Every single scene is better than the last. Oh boy, I've never been more ready to defend a film with everything I have. Asteroid City is currently the lowest rated feature film of Wes Anderson's filmography on both Letterboxd and IMDb, and although it didn't take me until my second watch for it to all really hit, even as I left the theater, I was baffled by all of the hate this got. In my opinion, Asteroid City perfects the whole story within a story gimmick that Grand Budapest and Dispatch had done before it, and for a much more thematically satisfying purpose. This isn't the first film that Wes has made that dissects his legacy or purpose as an artist, but none others have done so as powerfully or succinctly as this. The characters in the colorized, fictional world of Asteroid City are such beautiful representations of the side of an artist so hell-bent on proving to the world that they have it all figured out that nothing short of a literal alien crash landing into their campsite will convince them otherwise. And even then, they still may not fully admit it, whereas the more objective black and white depiction of the artists actually performing that play have absolutely no idea how to make sense of the art they're performing or of nearly anything else around them. It's these two sides that are constantly at war with each other, and not just the soul of an artist, but of everyone in the world. Whatever timeline we're all in right now is far too dense to try to make sense of, and we're all probably still going to spend most of our lives trying to do so anyway. But at the end of the day, none of that matters. We've just got to keep telling the story. Maybe one day I'll make a more in-depth video in defense of this film, but for now, I'll leave it at that. Like so many people, Moonrise Kingdom came to me right at the time that I needed it the most. I can remember feeling, and still do feel, so seen by the beautifully delicate and never not hilarious screenplay. It's so effortlessly easy to fall in love with every single character here, no matter how minor they are to the story, and strangely enough, the one that I've always felt most pulled towards was Bruce Willis's. It's heartbreaking looking back and reading about how insecure he felt on set and how he was always nervous that he wasn't performing to the standard needed, because it is highly likely his greatest late-stage performance. I also think this serves as the perfect introduction film for people into Wes Anderson, because it has just enough of his style for you to test the waters without completely overwhelming you. Bob Balaban's little interludes still make me laugh uncontrollably, and if I can be minimizing for just a second and talk solely about the vibes of all of Wes's films, this is the one that I want to wrap myself in the most. I don't think I'll ever tire of this film. It's endlessly charming, beautifully paced, hysterically funny, ethereally scored, and has a genius, more than satisfying conclusion. Like I said, this is perhaps the least confident I've ever been in one of my ranked lists, so we'll see how relevant this is in a few months, but as of now, this is where I stand. If you haven't seen any of these films, I recommend them all, so please give them a look. Thank you guys so much, as always, for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts on all of these films in the comment section below. Like the video, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.